Okay, so good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to be here to close the ear, and then I'm going to be here to open the ear as well. So you're going to get a lot of me. I hope that's good. So yes, we're going to be talking about humility, which is something sometimes tough to talk about. The best way to listen to what I'm going to say is not to think about yourself on the sense of criticizing yourself or anything. It's really to use this as a comparator, use this as a guide or something that will serve for you to see what areas of your life needs change, what part of you needs to, you need to reflect upon. So, and of course, I chose those pictures to be in the opening slide to get us in the mood. We see Jesus washing the feet of, his disciples, and you see Mother Teresa, and then you see supposedly, right? The idea is to show that Jesus came to this world not as a millionaire or billionaire or anything like that, and he was born like that out of nowhere, with his parents and animals. Okay. So let's talk about the importance of humility in the Christian life. We are here, it's not a church per se, but we are here because we believe in God, and we are here to learn more about Jesus. We are here to become better from a moral and spiritual standpoint. So talking about humility in the context of our spirituality, I think is very appropriate. So let's start with St. Augustine. So somebody came to St. Augustine and asked him, what is the most important quality in Christian life? And then he answered, humility. And then the person said, okay, but what is the second? Humility. What's the third? Humility. And I don't know how many times he repeated that, but the fact of the matter is, for him, humility was the most important quality of a Christian person. So, and that sets the stage, and we're going to see more of that, but that sets the stage for us to kind of put humility among us, the virtues that we must develop if we are Christians and if we are looking for spiritual progress. Here is Paul, St. Paul. In one of his letters to the Ephesians, he said, therefore, I, the prisoner of the Lord, implore you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling with which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness. Well, when you try to apply that to us, we have been called as well. We are here to learn. We're here to help. We're here to practice charity, and we are here to progress spiritually and morally. And that's our call. And Paul is saying to us, go through your journey with humility and gentleness. And then we have in Matthew, saying, do not be called leaders, for one, because that one is the leader, which is Jesus Christ. But the greatest among you shall be your servant. We heard that before. And here is the key thing. Whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be exalted. So there will be a point, or a time is going to come where we're going to either be exalted or we're going to be humbled. Okay? So God promises to bless those who are humble in the heart. And he said, blessed are the poor in spirit, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So and there's more to come here, but think about how many tips, directions that we got from Jesus and from those disciples about what God expects from us. Here we have Jesus saying, he called a child over him, to himself and said to them, "Whoever then humbles himself as this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." So if we are Christians because we believe Jesus should be and is our best leader, this is what he's telling us. Let's be as humble as a kid. All right, so then now let's talk a little bit about how we would define humbleness, humility. And the best way to do it is talk about the opposite of it, which is pride. Pride consists of attributing to ourselves honor, privileges, prerogatives, rights, and power. And of course, the list could go on a little bit. But to put it in a more direct way and simple way, is the idolatry of the self. And then I even put in there, and the answer is idolatry means worship of idols. So the proud person is the person that idealizes himself as the best. Our idol is ourselves. So that applies to the proud people. So therefore, I am the best. I am the one to have that honor, prerogatives, privileges, rights, and power, because I am the idol. I am the best. So, in talking about the idolatry of self, the proud person has an anthropocentric mindset. We're going to define that, which is the man is at the center of everything. The self is at the center of everything in the mind of the proud person. So that's anthropocentric. When you are the center of the world, you are the center of everything. At least you think like that. You think you should be the center of all attentions, and whatever you say, whatever you think, and you just need to, other people just have to take it. Nobody else should get the honor because you are the center. A person who is truly humble has the theocentric mindset. This, prefix, theo, means divine, means God. A person who thinks theocentrically puts God at the center of everything. God is is the master. So those are complicated words for us even to pronounce. But the bottom line is the proud person believes he's the center of everything, while the humble people say, I'm not the center of anything. God is. Well, with that in mind, we can be humble or proud toward either God or, both, God and others like us, our brothers and sisters. The true humble person toward God has a lasting sense of natural insignificance as compared to God. So the humble person knows we are, insignificant. We have been created by God. We live in His world, and we have to follow His divine laws. And He has the power to control that. A lasting sense of moral insignificance and sinfulness as compared to God. God is perfect. We are not. So a humble person knows that very well. And of course, you have faith in God. That's part of the reason if you have faith in God. Theocentric mindset. So the truly humble person has a theocentric mindset as opposed to anthropocentric, the thing of who is at the center, right? The truly humble person toward God attributes to God supreme honor, praise, rights, and privileges. It is to say, well, actually it's in the second paragraph, that person recognizes that everything good that he has comes from the hand of God. He knows that God is the source of all things, the means of all things, the goal of all things. Again, the source of all things, including us. We've been created by God, by His mercifulness. We are here having an opportunity to progress, to learn, to grow because of Him. He gave us the opportunity to come back and keep working on our development. In addition to our own existence, is only a function of God's mercifulness. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. He is also the means of everything. He provides us everything we need to live and to progress, to live and to become better, to live and follow His commandments. And of course, the goal of all things, because we want, at the end of our journey, after so many incarnations, and this is not the last one, we want to go back to where we came from, which is God. Okay, now let's put pride in the context of the society. So people are proud of their nationality, proud of their positions, proud of their sports teams, etc. For example, the Americans, they have this slogan, proud to be an American. So we Brazilian, we are proud to be Brazilian, and so on and so forth. And I'm proud to be, to have done this, to have done that. I'm proud because I have this car. I'm proud. We have this thing of being proud. Continue with that, it sounds like we lost touch with we meaning society, meaning humanity, lost sight of the idea that pride can be very destructive. And we're going to see that, at some point here, what pride causes to us. It doesn't bring happiness. It doesn't help you achieve what you are here to achieve. And the only perceived evil associated with pride these days, in this world and at this time, is not to have it. So if you're not proud of, something is wrong with you. How come you're not proud of what you accomplished? How come you're not proud of being, a worker here at the center? How come you're not proud of this or that or that or that? So not having proud almost means nowadays that there's something wrong with you. You should have proud. Should be proud of something. And then this lady here said this thing that I guess is very interesting for us to think about. Those who think too much of themselves don't think enough. Think about this for just a minute. Those that only think about himself have not really carried this thought process all the way through the end, beyond himself. Because the world, for the proud, ends here, where his knowledge is, where he can control, where at the point where he would lose control, or at the point where he would lose his significance. So if those that think too much of themselves have work to do, because they have not gone all the way through the end of the process. So the truly humble person toward men, we discussed toward God, now let's talk about toward men, has these characteristics. A truly humble person is not selfishly ambitious or greedy of honor among or over other people. So being ambitious, somebody's going to say, well, that's not too bad. But here we're talking about selfishly ambitious, and that's a completely different thing. So you're only thinking about yourself. You have this ambition to become the best, whatever, and and that's all for yourself. That's bad. Now, you want to be the best of something so that you can share, so that you can help other people, so that you can build your family in a way that they're all going to succeed as persons and this and that. So then we're not selfish anymore. So that is good ambitions. But bad ambition is when you just think about yourself. The more I have, the more power I'm going to have. The more I learn, the more and more knowledge I have, more power I'm going to have over other people. So that's selfish. So a truly humble person is not ostentatious. That's easy to understand, right? So you can tell somebody that's very ostentatious by the way he speaks and dresses and teaches, whatever the things he's talking about, by his way of thinking that he is the center of the world. He should be the center of all the attentions, and he should have the honors. He should stand out, out there in the troop. So that's being ostentatious. In terms, if you want to go back to the gospel, there's all those references to the Pharisees, and then in one of them, Jesus says, "Don't pray like the Pharisees, that would be at the corner of a street, praying out loud so that everybody sees that he's praying." Right? So, so that's ostentatious people. They are not humble. A truly humble person is not arrogant and assuming. Well, everybody knows, at least have a sense of what arrogance is all about, right? It's very characteristic of pride, pride, people with a lot of pride. And so they have this belief that he's higher and above everybody else. And assuming, meaning assuming that he is on top and you are below him. Assume that you don't, the other person does not know as much as he does. He's not good as much as he is. So that's assuming. Again, continuing with the truly humble person toward men, toward others, brothers and sisters, that humble person is not disrespectful of, contentious with, or violent toward other people. And a truly humble person is not willful and stubborn in his relationship with other people. He's flexible, he's listening, he's able to understand, he's able to ask questions, he's able to share his sentiment, he's able to have this relationship in a two-way street. A truly humble person does not try to level those who are over him down to his level. So those are tough things to say and tough things to absorb, but those are definitions. They have not been created for this group. They have been created for humanity, and they're not from me either. I'm not a scientist. Those are some of the universal knowledge about pride versus humbleness. Okay, think about this guy here. If I only had a little humility, I would be perfect. So I'm real close to perfection. I just have this little thing here called humility that's not there yet. So I like that. So far we have reviewed three things. First, how pride and humility differ in respect to our view of ourselves. So we think we are the center we should be the center of all the attention, and we are better than the rest of everybody. We also touched on this, the view of other people. So to the extent that I'm the best, you are not. So you come after me. You are not as good as I am. And the third, we're going to talk a little bit more, but the pride people don't have the same understanding of the consequences of being proud of themselves. So that leads to this. What's the foolish thing to do? Is being proud a good idea? What does that mean? Well, it is foolish for us to be proud about ourselves given God's views of the proud person. Pride is a violation of the first commandment. So then, you head on with the first commandment if you are proud, or you are in line with the first commandment if you are humble, and that is not going to change. No Congress or senator or whatever is going to change that. No electoral college is going to change that. This is it. It's definite. God does not support pride. And that's very clear everywhere you read about Jesus and about God. When we become proud, we are displaying our ignorance. We are showing everyone just how little we really know. So you're going to see soon here that the proud doesn't have the sense of what he is, how he's behaving like. He does not recognize that he's proud. He carries this big pride, and he's the center of the world. He does not know that. And then he goes on, and believing that nobody's catching up, nobody's, is really understanding what's going on here. But most of us will pretty soon say, oh, I don't like that guy because he's too arrogant. I don't like that guy or that person because she is or he is the Mr. Know-it-all or something along those lines. I just can't speak to him. What, he doesn't listen or something along those lines. So the proud does not see what he is creating for himself. He can't see it until the day he finally sees it. And that's the day when the pain is too strong for him to bear. Because there will be a time for that. People are often proud about their talents and abilities. That's another thing that happens. If you have a certain talent, you're a good player, song player or whatever, music player, and the first thing you do is to make sure everybody is appreciating that is realizing that you are good at something. So you have to have this thing. Somebody's going to say, "Wow, you're really good about, on this thing. You did not know you were so good about it. Playing this thing, on playing something." And so that's typical of the proud. So Paul once said, "It is Jesus who speaks through me." And Paul was saying, and I'm nobody. I'm here, and I can't remember the words, but Paul at this point he was saying, I'm nothing. It's Jesus who speaks through me. And John, Baptist, I forgot to put that thing in there. John the Baptist, at some point, somebody came to him and, tried to get from him his own definition of himself. So who are you, John? Expecting him to say something big, right? And then he kept saying, Nobody, I'm here to pave the way for the one that's coming after me. So that's all they could get from John the Baptist. So when we become proud, not only are we showing that we are ignorant in reference to our natural and moral insignificance, but we are also showing our ignorance as far as our spiritual conditions. Think about that for a minute. We are far from being perfect, very far from being perfect. That's why we're here in this planet where we're supposed to suffer. We are learning through suffering. Okay, so hopefully we're going to have another meeting in the next world where good exceeds evil. But right now, that's what we are here for, to learn in the painful way. It does not mean it has to be like that forever. As we progress, we become better and better, the less the pain, the less the difficulties for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish. So, what are then the side effects or consequences of pride? There's a number of them. One of them, it causes us to forget God. So you are so proud that you don't need even God. So you know everything, you have everything, you are the best, and you don't even pray. You don't need it. You don't need God. You are, your God. So we forget God until we remember Him. Pride causes us to make poor decisions. A wise man is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is arrogant and careless. So we don't know how to make fair decisions, those that are win-win decisions. We only know how to make win-lose decisions. I win, you lose. So that's another thing that's very typical. It's a very typical side effect of being proud. We think too much of ourselves to care about the consequences of what I'm deciding to do. Causes us to act in a wicked, perverse, immoral, evil ways. So we, again, within this context, in this scenario where we are too proud of ourselves and we don't care about others, then we become wicked. We become perverse, immoral. We just don't, think about a sociopath, for example. He runs over whoever comes across him. Doesn't matter who. He needs to get there first, and that's the only thing that he cares about. Pride produces ingratitude. So that's another thing to think about. So the humble is very grateful. Everything means something to him. A little gift makes him happy, no matter what. But for those that are too proud, they think they deserve whatever they get. So if you give me a gift, give me the best gift you can get me because I deserve. And I don't have to say thank you. I deserve that. It's your job to really give me what you're getting me. So those that are not grateful people are probably people that are proud of themselves. Pride causes us to sin in our speech. Pride is connected with lying and defamation of others, especially those who do right. So the proud guys, they hate seeing people doing the right thing, because, it's, how come? I'm the best and he's doing the right thing. So what he's trying to do is to lower that to a different level so he becomes the first again. So it makes us sin in our speech because we're going to speak in a way that's going to, like they say, talk down to people. So those that talk down to people, are those humble people? No way, right? Okay. Pride is foolish, not only because it is terrible, because of its terrible consequences, but also because it causes us to miss out on the blessings. Okay. The first, and a lot of people would say the most important sermon of Jesus was that first one, which is known as the Sermon of the Mount, when he was talking about the blessed people. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, because they shall be comforted. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. And there are others, but in that sermon, you're not going to find anything that supports the opposite of being humble, of being gentle. Jesus was talking about those, let's say that's the consolation, right? He was bringing this consolation for all those that suffer, and in a way that is within the laws of God. They're going to be humble people. They're going to be these gentle people, meek. They're going to be those that are like that child, as we read before, having that innocence and humbleness of a child. So, pride also prevents us from other things. One of them is praying, as we discussed here. So, we don't, the proud people, some may not even know how to pray. Others say, well, if I pray once a month, that's enough. I normally like to go to the masses. I like, once in a while, I do pray. Well, it prevents us from seeing our own sin. So, as we discussed before, the proud people don't see how proud they are. So they don't see their sin, they don't know they are sinful, because they are too proud to see that. Prevent us from repenting. So we don't, the proud people don't repent anything. Don't know exactly what remorse is all about, because if you don't repent, you can't have remorse. And actually, that reminds me of a phrase that's said by either Paul or Peter that's in the Gospel, that says, the bigger your knowledge, the bigger your remorse. Because that means, only the knowledgeable, only those that got to the point to understand pride will actually have remorse, because they understand that they have made something wrong. So they truly listen to others. It's, I'm sure people that don't listen to you when you're speaking. Yeah, there's a lot of them. And if they're not listening, it's because what you're saying is not important. You may think that you're saying something important, but it's not. I know much better than you. Actually, I can tell you what you were going to tell me before you even think about it, because I know everything. So I'm not going to listen to you. And then, and when they listen, they don't listen to understand. They listen to criticize. So those are, some bad things about the proud people. Prevent us from developing deep and meaningful relationships. So in a relationship, if both are proud, then we're going to have big fights. Now, if we have one proud and one humble, then guess what? The humble will pay all his sins in just one incarnation. He's going to go to heaven. And also, prevent us from being truly useful in the kingdom of God. So it's very difficult for proud people to do charity, for example, because charity definitely requires humbleness. So they may be good philanthropists. They have their names in the papers. You know, we donated so much money, this and that. But they're not good at all when it comes to being a charitable person. So they are not useful. They are not useful at all in the kingdom of God. And this is the kingdom of God. This is part of it. So pride prevents us to be useful to Jesus, to be a disciple, to be the workers of the 11th hour, as we read in our gospel. We just don't qualify. All right. So, now, one of the things that make pride so dangerous is that it can be so hard for us to spot that in ourselves. The very definition of pride is thinking better of ourselves than we really are. So that here is a huge problem. It makes it too hard for us to spot that in ourselves. Right? If you ask a narcissist, for example, if he's narcissist, what is he going to tell you? Well, you'd better ask and run. Right? He will never admit that. But that's what it is. He cannot see it. It's far beyond his, the span of his sight. So it is not surprising that proud people do not usually see their pride. For this reason, it is vitally important that we spend time regularly search out the pride in our hearts. So, let's see. That's a good way to bring this to it's a good summary perhaps of what we've been talking, in terms of what we can take home. Let's now that we went through all these definitions of what it means, what's the definition of pride versus humbleness, humility. We don't want to fool ourselves. There's no point in coming over here and studying the gospel and then the books of the Spirit and then read about Peter and Paul and this and that. If you fail to accomplish the very first thing, that is humbleness. So that is really, you have to, in our Spiritist movement, when you read Kardec, what you're going to say, what you're going to find is that there's the two big pillars of our sin, of our sins, of our issues as a spirits. One is pride, the other one is selfishness, and today we're touching in one of them. So it's a good thing to think about. I know I can tell you one more thing. Everybody here has something still to work on when it comes to pride. We are not fully humble yet, and that's because we have not lived long enough yet. We are still working on us. Whether that's about, selfishness, pride, our ability to do charity, our ability to be compassionate, whatever it is, we're still working on those things. So no shame on us. However, big shame on us if we decide not to look inside and see where we stand when it comes to those virtues, and pride being a big one. That's like this big stone on our way of the progress. So with that, stay humble and have a great weekend. Thank you.